With almost 90 years having passed since the last film by Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau premiered, this video essay aims to once more look into his oeuvre. More specifically, we will focus on one particular aspect, character subjectivity. In order to get a good grip on this concept, we will take a look at several instances of character subjectivity in Murnau's work and analyze how this adds to our understanding of the characters. Edward Brannigan, who devoted a book to theories of narration and subjectivity in cinema, defines character subjectivity as a specific instance or level of narration where the telling is attributed to a character in the narrative and received by us as if we were in the situation of the character. This is often confused with the concept of bias, but Kristen Thompson's addition to the definition of character subjectivity allows for a more concrete understanding. She separates two types of character subjectivity, perceptual and mental subjectivity. Perceptual subjectivity is when we get access to what characters see and hear. These could be point of view shots and soft noises suggesting that the sound source is distant from the character's ear. Examples of mental subjectivity are internal voices reporting the character's thoughts or the character's inner images, representing memory, fantasy, dreams, or hallucinations. According to Perez, Murnau's use of point-of-view shots was revolutionary and highly influential to other filmmakers, most notably to Hitchcock. The difference between the first uses of point of view and the way Murnau uses it have to do with meaning. In his book from 1991, Tom Gunning categorizes the first uses as being part of the cinema of attractions. Think, for example, of the 50-second film How It Feels to Be Run Over from 1900. Gunning mentions the Peeping Tom films in which point-of-view shots were being used merely to show what somebody was looking at, or to provide pure scopic pleasure, often including explicitly erotic material. He adds that Griffith, in contrast, harnesses this voyeuristic pleasure to perform a narrative role, providing a reaction to a dramatic incident and motivation for actions to come. What Gunning says about Griffith also applies to Murnau. He too uses the point-of-view shot as a narrative device rather than as an attraction. This is as much the same for perceptual subjectivity as it is for mental subjectivity. Dream sequences and hallucinations were first used as an attraction, to showcase what was possible in cinema or to entertain. Murnau used them to provide his audience with an insight into a character's psychology. Ellen has been argued to be a passive character for various reasons. However, because of two related point-of-view shots, the opposite might be true. At the end of the film, the outcome is determined by her actions. After looking out her window at the deceased townspeople, shown in a point-of-view shot, she makes the decision to sacrifice herself for the good of the town. She lures Nosferatu into her house and literally stares death in the face, which is again shown through a point-of-view shot. According to Perez, this shot is of uncommon intensity and implicative resonance. Furthermore, as Kevin Jackson writes, one tradition of vampire lore mentioned by Van Helsing in Dracula is that a vampire can only enter a new house if he or she has been invited. The implicative resonance then is that in looking at Nosferatu, Ellen is making the conscious decision of inviting Nosferatu in. So although her role might seem passive, it can be argued that she still made one of the most resolute decisions of all the film's characters, all captured in one point-of-view shot. Murnau therefore seems to use perceptual subjectivity in order to convey Ellen's brave and decisive nature. If we are to look into the porter for Murnau's Der letzte Mann, One of the most important instances of subjectivity for this particular character will be the moment he receives his letter of demotion. We look through his eyes, reading the words again as they become blurry. It is made clear to us that this demotion comes as a great shock to him and that he is left devastated by it. This interpretation, which we carry with us throughout the entirety of the film, is reflected in relevant literature. The moment the porter arrives home after it is discovered that he is now a lavatory attendant, his dread and humiliation are intensified through the use of a superimposition of several close-ups of women laughing at him. As a spectator, one could almost imagine being laughed at oneself. The concept of humiliation resonates strongly with the literature. At his daughter's wedding, in his drunken stupor, the porter dreams about lifting a suitcase no one else is able to, surrounded by his odd colleagues and their incredulous cheers. The esteemed guests of the hotel give him a standing ovation as, with ease, he repeatedly throws the suitcase up in the air. This scene very much offers the audience a look into the inner world of the porter. We gain an insight in his deepest fears and desires, furthermore strengthening our understanding of his current state of mind. Sunrise contains quite a few great examples of mental subjectivity. It is noticeable that this type of character subjectivity is mostly used in the first third of the film and less in the latter two-thirds. This reflects the internal conflict of the man when he considers murdering his wife for his mistress, and the later reconciliation with his wife, which is more outwardly focused. Most interesting is how character subjectivity reflects the way the man feels about both his mistress and his wife. The city vamp exists next to him and in his mind through fantasy and hallucinations. With the use of a special effect, she is shown to manipulate the man. Later, we see them together, imagining a life in the city. There is, however, no point of view shot of the man looking at his mistress. On the other hand, there are plenty of point of view shots in which the man looks at his wife. This might indicate a less personal relationship with the mistress, which is mostly based on pleasure and fantasy, and a more personal relationship with his wife. Instead of focusing on similarities, we chose to analyze only 3 films and concluded that Murnau uses character subjectivity in many different ways. As mentioned before, he uses character subjectivity to provide his audience with an insight into a character's psychology. Through both perceptual and mental subjectivity, such as point of view shots, dream sequences, and fantasy, Murnau manages to portray explicit and implicit emotions and thoughts.